Haiti, one of the wealthiest countries in the Caribbean, is now enduring one of the world's most severe human rights crises ever. Over half of its population lives in poverty, and the country is besieged by unprecedented violence and instability. The recent resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry due to armed blockades has exacerbated the crisis, with Gary Conille now stepping in as the new Prime Minister of the country. And as Haiti endures this unprecedented crisis, it's important to recognize the broader impact of Western interference in the nations of the global South and the crisis that it may cause.
Haiti, once the wealthiest colony in the Americas, is now the Western Hemisphere's poorest country, with more than half of its population living below the World Bank's poverty line. The Caribbean nation is grappling with unprecedented levels of violence, leading the United Nations to declare it as one of the countries of greatest concern.
The situation in Haiti is cataclysmic. Corruption, impunity, and poor governance, compounded by increasing levels of gang violence, have eroded the rule of law and brought state institutions close to collapse. Tackling insecurity must be a top priority to protect the population and to prevent further human suffering. Gangs continued to use sexual violence to brutalize, punish, and control people. Some women are forced into exploitative sexual relations with gang members. In addition, the rape of kidnapped hostages continues to be used to coerce families into paying ransoms. All these practices are outrageous and must stop at once. It is shocking that despite the horrific situation on the ground, arms keep still pouring in. I appeal for a more effective implementation of the arms embargo. I reiterate the need for an urgent deployment of a multinational security support mission to help the national police to stop violence.
In 2024, Haiti's situation has deteriorated dramatically. Killings and sexual violence, education under fire, children under crisis, Haitians are facing one of the world's worst human rights crises in decades. But why is this country bearing so much brunt? It traces back to September 2019, when massive protests erupted demanding the resignation of the then president Jovenel Moïse, who later in 2021 was assassinated, which left a power vacuum in the country's government, leaving the armed gangs with more political demands. Gangs launched coordinated attacks in the capital Port-au-Prince, killing police officers and causing chaos through prison breaks and airport seizures. For decades, Haiti's gangs have been closely associated with politicians, political parties, businessmen in the country. Post Moïse's killing, Ariel Henry took charge as the prime minister, who was never directly elected but was chosen for the post and came to power with the backing of the Western countries. Throughout its history, Haiti has endured a series of external interventions that have eroded its sovereignty and directly led to the current crisis. This and other foreign involvement has further deteriorated the country's situation. Henry had to step down as Prime Minister last month after arms group blocked his return to the country, leading to the swearing-in of a transitional council. Gary Conille has officially been sworn in as Haiti's new Prime Minister.
We asked the Haitian National Police and the military to take responsibility and arrest Ari once again. The population is not our enemy. The armed groups are not your enemy, but you arrest Ariel Henry for the country's liberation.
Amidst this gang violence and zero power control, there is an evident spillage in the rural areas, disrupting food, water and gas supplies. Over 362,000 Haitians have been displaced, many forced to live in precarious makeshift camps only to flee again as violence reaches them. The humanitarian response is severely hampered, with organizations struggling to reach the most vulnerable due to the pervasive insecurity. From political instability to humanitarian catastrophe, there is deep-rooted corruption and fragile governance. Coordinated attacks have resulted in severe human rights violation, crippling healthcare system and displacing thousands. Nearly 1.4 million Haitians are on the brink of famine. Urgent international support and comprehensive policies are imperative to restore order and security. As Haiti battles through the unprecedented crisis, one cannot ignore the broader implications of the West's influence on the global South. The history of exploitation, political interference, and economic manipulation has left countries like Haiti vulnerable to instability and suffering. It's a stark reminder to the need for solidarity and genuine partnership, where the voices and needs of the marginalized are prioritized over geopolitical interests. Only through collective action and a commitment to justice can we hope to build a world where every nation, regardless of its wealth or power, can thrive in peace and dignity.